Right now, there's nothing on the agenda for today. So if y'all have anything you want to talk about, please add it to the agenda, the link to which I just posted in the chat. And of course, you can ask stuff here as well. But yeah, I think that was Dan Cerulli, but I didn't hear you very well.
Can I ask you where you're located?
Can you ask me what?
Where you are? Where are you?
Oh, I'm on the 7th floor. I'm in MP3.
Can you be more specific? I'll come join you.
I'm in Z buffer, but it's one of those tiny ones. Are you in a room now?
Yeah. I'm on the 8th floor.
Oh, I mean, we can throw in a chair, but and I need to get you stickers too.
Yeah, it would have been useful before my meetup last night. And I meant to grab them yesterday. You reminded me, and I knew they were down there. I thought it at some point during the day.
That's all right. It just gives people a reason to come back to the next one.
My apologies to anyone who was at the meetup last night. I meant to bring stickers.
If anybody needs Istio stickers, we can totally make it happen. I'm trying to actually get like a website set up where people can order their own things. So that'll hopefully make things a lot easier for folks.
I can make a humble suggestion where you could host such a store.
Oh, yes.
Shopify. Sorry, Shopify. That was the answer.
I got that.
I think that actually is what the CNCF uses when they do their store, and that is kind of I should say the vendor that sets those up. And so yeah, that is I'm a big Shopify user myself, so you know, I'm a fan. Okay, does anybody have anything they want to chat about? Dan Cerulli, do you want to tell us how your meetup went?
I went to the, I think it's sometimes called the Containers 101 meetup last night here in the South Bay. There were 3 speakers. Gunjan from Palo Alto Networks. He gave a talk about admission controllers. It was pure Kubernetes. I spoke about Istio, and I really kind of gave the history of how we evolved internally and how we arrived at the architecture that Istio has. And then after that, Chris and Karthik from Tigera talked about network policy and Istio policy and how a combination of layer 3 and layer 7 are very powerful and useful. As always, when I go to one of these, I overestimate the level of sophistication people will have about Istio. It is not so late in the adoption curve that you should assume everybody knows about Istio and the parts of Istio. And I always think I don't mind explaining and like starting at the very beginning, but I worry, if everybody knows what it is, this will be a waste of their minutes. I realized from now on, I should just always have my get to know Istio deck kind of, and start off by saying, hey, who feels they're really comfortable with what Istio is? So in the process of giving our 2 talks that were about Istio, we ended up kind of explaining a bunch about what is Istio. So that's my overwhelming thing, is that it's easy to talk Istio all day and assume everybody knows everything. And for the most part, most people who show up at some random Kubernetes or container meetup don't understand what most of the people on this call know, which is what are these components and why do you use them, and just basic stuff like that. That said, really interesting, 60, 70 people at least, lots of questions. It's the topic people are interested in.
I heard really good feedback from the rest of the CodeFresh team that was there. They said that you did a good job and that the audience was very enthusiastic. So. Right,
I agree. And by the way, both of them were cool. I really liked Oriel and Maya, I think. Right?
Oh, good. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else that folks want to talk about, chat about?
So I have a general question that do you have where do I find the recording of some of the previous calls like this, if any of those recorded? Because I was on PTO for a couple of weeks and I missed some of those sessions.
They are on YouTube. I try to update the doc with a link to the recording, but I haven't done that for the last couple of ones. So Let me grab the link and then I'll put it in the doc at, excuse me, you can see all the old recordings there.
Go to YouTube and you search on Istio community meetings. It seems to bring up a bunch of them.
I was gonna say, we have a channel, I just don't know the name of the channel off the top of my head. I mean, I know it's Istio, but like, what's the URL?
Yeah, I mean, I find a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube. So
Yeah.
that's great, but sometimes people are present over here in this forum, in this setting, different kind of projects. So I was curious if there is a specific channel or a specific way to just keep an eye on those.
Yeah, we do have a channel, and like I said, I'll post the link in.
I just posted in the chat the link to the channel, or sorry, to the community, the Istio. This is the Istio user. It's different than a channel, right? I don't understand how YouTube works. Anyway, this is all the videos that belong to the Istio user, whatever that means on YouTube. And that includes the all the individual working group meetings as well as the community. It looks
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought we had done a custom URL, but I guess we didn't have enough subscribers at the time yet. So tell your friends to subscribe. That's like the default YouTube statement. Hit that like button and subscribe.
So you smash that like button.
Smash, sorry. You know, for someone who doesn't really know how YouTube works, you sure know a lot about what YouTubers say.
All the smashing subscribe buttons I've learned from podcasts that make fun of that phrase.
All right. Anything else? Anything cool that folks are working on? Anything coming up?
It's Osman here. I was going to integrate some virtual machines possibly next week into the Istio mesh, and I know we have some documentation here in terms of mesh expansion. I was wondering if anybody had any experience doing that with 1.1, if there are any things to look out for. I'm doing it on Google Cloud as the instructions kind of have set up here, but just interested if anybody has any experience working with that. They're going to be primarily database workloads that are running on, I believe, CentOS machines. So that's the setup.
I heard about some people internally doing that this past week, but I don't have any specific, I didn't hear about any gotchas or anything. Would love to hear about your experience next week, assuming you get something going, or you don't actually, if it doesn't work.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll just report back then on the next call and kind of give an outline of what happened. So.
Can you talk about what it is you're trying to accomplish? Are you trying to do telemetry gathering only, or are you trying to do more than that?
I'm not sure. Right now, I was just trying to see if I could get it to work. Essentially, they're database workloads that don't have any telemetry, so that would be kind of a start. Mm-hmm. But maybe to just, I'm guessing you also get the mutual TLS, but I don't think so because nothing's running on the on the database nodes. So yeah, I'm just kind of seeing if I can get it to work and then see what services I can get running from there. So.
I haven't used it, but I think if you run Envoy on that end, you could get mutual TLS to work. But I haven't actually done that myself.
Okay.
Everyone upgraded the 1.0.7 and the 1.1.2/2 or 3 that have the CVE updates? No.
Not yet. Probably doing that next week.
Yeah, that was our first run through our first CVE, and it was a really interesting experience from our end to just see what that process will be, and went fairly smoothly. But yeah, it's one of those things of being a maturing project, having to do that for the first time. That was interesting.
What did the CV affect, or what is the threat?
There was a threat in Envoy. Let me pull it up. I don't want to mischaracterize it. The vulnerabilities are centered on the fact that Envoy did not normalize HTTP URI paths and did not fully validate HTTP 1.1 header values. So the vulnerabilities impacted Istio features that relied on Envoy to enforce authorization, routing, or rate. There is in the 1.1.2 announcement, I'll post the link here, which has in turn links to the hold on, I can't find my chat. Detailed links on the CVEs.
Awesome, thanks.
And so we did release a 1.0.7 and a 1.1.2. And most notably, if you're not yet on 1.0 at least, we did not do patches to say 0.8.
Is anybody using those yet and having questions or issues?
I just found a misspelling of our own product on our own website.
Just shows that we're real.
That's awesome.
I've got a couple things I'd like to talk about. First of all, I found a bug yesterday with something with endpoints not being removed properly, and dug around. I found that it was actually reported in a previous version and fixed in a previous version, and then it got merged into the 1.0 branch and never moved back to master or the 1.1 branch.
Really?
So that the bug like reappeared. So we got it like pushed through and fixed, but that makes me worried that there are other changes or fixes that are not being propagated through properly. I know that, I don't know if this worries me as a user, and it's hard as someone who's contributing too. So I don't know if there's any thoughts on that.
I agree. That is quite worrying. I think that we should bring it up to the TOC. That there is, everyone is probably aware that we've declared a code MOV on Istio, and code MOV is a term we use internally at Google that basically says the project itself, the infrastructure around the project, the testing and release of the project needs some work. And so our emphasis in 1.2 is much more project and quality related than feature related. We are still working on onboarding, and the user experience group is trying to make onboarding easier, but there is a general feeling of we're not releasing close enough ahead. There's a bunch of reasons that the testing infrastructure is not adequate. So we are already taking it very seriously, but this is a very, very good proof point. I will note for the TOC, I think I might see an internal bug that has your name on it, David. Does this have to do with CPU usage?
Nope.
Nope. This is something else.
This is a different one.
Hey, can you in the chat right now just post a link to the
Sure.
And then I will just note TOC. Like we are already taking this seriously, but I agree. That's a serious regression.
Yeah, I was going to add, within the Code MOV meetings, there's certainly a lot of discussion on ways to improve the process to prevent this from happening.
Right.
And I know I was just looking at an issue I think that came in this morning that somebody had mentioned that it was fixed in 1.1, or maybe they thought it was, I forget. They thought it was fixed in 1, and we're wondering the same thing. But I did go and look, and it did get moved to the other branch. So they weren't seeing the same problem in both.
It's kind of unfortunate that that even has to be a thing. Like, we should assume that if it was fixed, it exists everywhere or in future branches. So hopefully they can come up with a better pattern of branching or whatever that can improve that for the future.
Yeah, that is an explicit goal of the code MOV. But yeah, I agree entirely.
Cool. So then the other thing is I'm working on testing multiple clusters working together with, well, right now I'm testing the split horizon, and when my testing, I'm seeing that once I add a mesh network for the remote network, it does change the endpoints from the pod IPs to the gateway, but it also makes the local endpoints disappear. And I was wondering if anyone else has done anything with this or has any insight.
I guess another question, is anyone on this call doing multi-cluster Istio?
I have set up multi-cluster Istio. I'm not doing it in production, but I've set it up for like demos and doing talks and things.
With which approach? Like ingress, egress, single control plane, multi-control plane?
So it was 2 distinct clusters with a single control, single control plane. So all traffic went into one cluster and then it would distribute to the second cluster. I think, so we were calling cross cluster when you have multiple control planes and you can enter any control plane. And technically, I think we actually had that set up, but that wasn't the purpose of the talk and stuff that we were doing.
Yeah, we're dealing with a 6-figure number of endpoints, so that doesn't scale.
Have you figured out how to route traffic only like preferentially to the local cluster rather than having it distribute among all of the other clusters?
I haven't gotten that far because basically the local ones are disappearing for some reason.
Yeah, even when that's done, I'm not confident that Envoy won't see all the endpoints, including the ingress, as equally weighted and not load balance properly. Like, we're looking for some sort of like locality-based balancing or priority weighting.
Which in theory, there's support for some of that locality stuff, but I haven't gotten far enough to test it yet.
Yeah, that felt like the weakness to me, that there wasn't a mechanism to set preference that at least that I understood. And I've heard that there is one, but that for me, it was like, well, the use case here is like, okay, I want to have failover, but realistically it's like, hey man, if you're coming in through the US West server, I don't want your traffic to get routed across to the East Coast for no reason. I want you to get the local pods here. And I didn't see a way to make that happen. I've been assured that it's possible, but I don't know how to do it. The other people you might want to talk to are the guys from StackPoint Cloud. They were acquired, but their entire focus has been around doing setups for multi-cluster, multi-cloud. Trying to remember what they're called now because they were acquired and they're part of like NetApp or something now. But they actually built a bunch of stuff around cross-cluster using Istio. The guys to talk to, oh yeah, they still have their Slack channel. Ariel Jatib, Matt Baldwin, these would be the folks that I would interact with because it's like they've built a whole product just around this. I'll put Ariel's email in the chat.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I think that still works.
Anybody got anything else?
Did somebody already mention that Istio the hard way is coming?
No, we didn't mention that.
Yeah,
I
Kelsey.
saw that Kelsey was working on that. Yeah, but like it's changing so quickly. Like, is he going to do that at 1.0, 1, 2? Is Mixer going to be in like?
Well, I'm sure he's doing it on 1.1. And just like I mean, with Kubernetes the hard way, he's done updates over time as Kubernetes has changed. I know he's working with another Googler, someone who's on the Istio team, but is very, very new, still has that outsider perspective, which is very important, and which Kelsey always is able to maintain. No, I think it's great. I think that existence of Kubernetes the hard way actually helped Kubernetes as a project. And so I think it's great.
Anything else folks want to talk about? Who's going to KubeCon Europe?
I just said today
Me.
I gotta arrange things, but I think I'll be there. You'll be there, Dan?
Yes.
Muy bien.
Do you think we should do the Istio, the We Mesh thing again at KubeCon? Was that useful? Did people like that?
I thought it was fun. I don't know if it was useful, but it's fun.
Yeah, I agree.
I heard about it, but never got a sticker.
Sir, if you need a sticker, we will get you a sticker. Email me. I'll put my email in the chat, and I'll get you a sticker.
So it sounds like Dan Cerulli. Sounds like the Dans will be there. So you can for sure catch up with them. And then I think, I don't know of any other big conferences that folks are going to be at. I know Lee had mentioned DockerCon in the last meeting, and the link is in the working doc if you go through that. So he was going to have some service mesh stuff at DockerCon.
Is anyone putting proposals for SRECon for talks? Something Istio related. I don't know traditionally if that conference has a bunch of like tactical things like that, or if that's like restricted to KubeCon.
I haven't heard of anybody, but I don't know if anybody else has. It might be worth just, putting the link to the CFP out if it's still open.
Yeah, I believe it still is for another month.
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about, or does everybody want to get 30 minutes back in their day?
I go to GitHub and fix the typo in our site. Also, I'm going to see how we get a linter that prevents Istio from ever making it into the site.
Got to bring in some TensorFlow machine learning for that.
All right. I guess we can call it. Thanks, everybody. April, I'll come down and get some stickers from you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.